Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Enzo Conty. I've been a freelancer mobile software engineer for over 6 years now, and I have a heavy focus on Flutter, which I've been experimenting with for the last six years almost. I am also super deeply involved in the Flutter community as I'm organizing the Google Developer Group of Bordeaux and the Flutter Meetup Group of Bordeaux also. So if you also want to join a vibrant community where we exchange ideas and we learn from each other and push the boundaries of what's possible in tech, you are more than welcome to talk to me later on. There's also my socials if you want to ask me a question later on. So I'm available on GitHub, of course, on Twitter or X as you want, and more recently on Blue Sky, which is quite new for me. Today, I'm super excited to share with you how Flutter is just not another tool, but it's a game changer for developing interfaces for smart devices. Let's take a quick look at what I'm going to cover today. Firstly, I will be addressing the common issues with smart devices. It's important to understand why we have those challenges. We're also going to see why Flutter is not just a viable solution, but perhaps the optimal one to overcoming these challenges. And finally, we'll discuss our future and objective and goals. This is where we can dream big and envision the Flutter, envision where Flutter can take us in the next few years. All right, so let's start with the issues with smart devices. And I want to start with, I want to kick things off with a short story. So it's story time. At the beginning of this year, I was on my way to a conference called FlutterCon. Maybe you know about this conference. And it's in Berlin. So I took the plane. And during my journey, I took several flights. I went to Zurich, and after I went to Berlin, since I'm from Bordeaux. And in one of those flights, my seat was near the cockpit. Which gave me a clear view of what the flight attendant was using during all the flight and how they were doing their work. And at some point, they were using a small control panel on the airplane to adjust the cabin lighting. I'm speaking about this if you ever saw one. And as I said, I observed the flight attendant interacting with this panel, and as a front-end developer, I was like super horrified. I was almost in shock to how this interface, while functional, was so ugly and not intuitive at all. And I added some more interfaces so you can find in the airplane. This one, for example, is the one that you can control the sound that you have, the sound system, for example, also intervention if you, for example, have like brakes or something like this, which I don't wish for you. And we also have this one, which looks a little bit more modern, but still looks like straight up the 2000s. But surely there is an explanation as for why there are so many interfaces that remain so ugly and not practical in 2024. So during my flight, I had a bunch of time to think about why those interfaces are not practical at all. And there was two reasons to come to my mind. The first one was about accessibility. I was thinking maybe there is some accessibility requirements that need to be pushed, and for this reason, the interface don't evolve, or they evolve they don't evolve that much, and so that's a problem. And we have interfaces that are quite ugly for this reason. The other reasons that I had is that planes are usually quite old, and so I made some research first. I searched about accessibility, and I found out that most airlines require actually cabin crews to have a vision test before the hiring process finished. And what I found out is that actually the cabin crew need to have very good eyesight. So it's not, for example, a problem of accessibility for eyesight. So I ruled out the accessibility issues, and I thought that it's definitely not that. So as I say, maybe the planes are just old, because I just found out that commercial planes are usually between 15 and 25 years old, or they can also be older. So maybe it's just because the interface didn't change in 15 or 20 years. But then I saw that on Google, and it's a flight attendant panel for Boeing 777, and this plane is 29 years old. and yet it has the best interface that I saw in the airplane yet. And it's quite shocking because it looked like really like Spotify kind of. And so it's definitely something that you cannot find in an old airplane.
And so I was like super puzzled because I couldn't find the real issue of why do we have ugly interfaces. And then I found the real issues, and maybe some of you already know what the issue is. It's cost. It's simply cost, it's about money. And it's not just the expense of developing new interfaces, but also the ongoing cost associated with upgrading and maintaining those interfaces on millions of devices. And so now I want to speak about why Flutter, and also what is Flutter. Is there somebody who don't know what Flutter is? No? Yeah, few? All right, good. So firstly, now we understand that it's a problem with an economic barrier. Like companies don't want to make like good interfaces because it costs some money, and so why Flutter is a solution to that? Because Flutter can cost the cost of development and maintenance. And so let's see, what is Flutter? Flutter is an open source framework made by Google in 2017, and it used Dart, and which is a programming language also made by Google from 2011, I think. I'm almost sure. And Flutter also enabled developers to create cross-platform native apps with one code base, which is important, one code base, with one programming language, which is Dart again. So that cut costs basically, because you don't have to create multiple platform and maintain them individually. So the first reason that's why Flutter is very nice for smart devices is because you have like the hot reload system, which is basically a system of compilation under the hood of Flutter that allow you to basically make the change, just save it on your program, on your editor, and it just straight up on the device that you are doing. And so basically, you have no issue at all with seeing, and you don't have to recompile, and you don't lose a lot of time. On this slide, you can see like the two different type of approaches for smart device development. You have the cross-platform development, where you're going to create like one project and basically deploy it for a lot of devices, and it can be, for example, one which is for a smartwatch, one for, I don't know, a TV and whatever, with one code base. And the other one is a native app development. And you will have better performance, but it will take more time, and you will have to hire specific developers that have like the competency and the skills to do this. On this slide, I want to speak about user interface, which are developed with proprietary software. This is Cranksoft, I think. And it's a software used for making like embedded devices interfaces. But it's firstly very expensive, around like 200 or 300 euro for one license. And it's also very specific because you are kind of locked with the software, and if you want to do something else, you can't basically. And that means losing money, because like it's going to be harder to hire someone with a skill for this proprietary software, but it's going to be also like way more difficult to just in general adapt this software that you already have to new devices. On the other hand, Flutter is free, open source, community-driven, and cross-platform, meaning that, as I said, developers with a single code base can build beautiful interfaces that can run almost anywhere, reducing development time and cost for the maintenance. So one of the last advantage that Flutter has is code push. Code push also is just a way that Flutter can like give a lot of devices everywhere, and you can patch your app from a remote area, and basically you will have like no issues. I'm like, it's a bit short on time. I want to show you a few interfaces created by the community. This is a smart alarm clock made by Roman, which is a GDE in Flutter and Dart. He also made ordering kiosk, for example, the one that you can find in McDonald's or Burger King, for example. This is one of project of mine where you can actually follow the tramway station and when the tramway will come to the station, because I'm very famously late. And there is also wearable IoT devices, which is like basically a smart badge for conferences. I also wanted to show you basically that you can also do IoT, and you can push Flutter boundaries by going on wearable, for example, on I think it's watch. I don't know, the Android operating system for watches. I forgot its name. But you can also, like, you don't have to create your own PCB and create the whole complex thing. You can just also like just push boundaries by creating your Flutter device on actually OEM devices, for example, like the Steam Deck, for example. And I want to speak quickly about the future. Now we have, for example, Toyota, BMW, and other car constructors who are embedding Flutter into their cars. But where do we stand as a community? Firstly, now we have LG WebOS, which is WebOS for TV for LG TVs, and Flutter is now supporting them, so we can like directly create a like application for their TVs, which is like millions of devices. So we'll have a lot of people who are going to start building apps made for TVs with Flutter. Personally, I'm a bit selfish, so I'm going to start with my goal. My goal is to actually use the Spotify car thing, which is deprecated at the end of this month, and I'm going to hack it and use Flutter on it. This is one of my goals. And as the Flutter for the community, since Flutter can run on any screen, why not on the biggest screen on the planet? And this is the Las Vegas sphere, and as far as I know, Flutter hasn't been yet on this screen. Most importantly, we will continue to have fun and deploy Flutter to more and more devices. And I added a little bit of documentation, but I don't think we'll have a lot of times. If you want the slides, I will post it on my Twitter probably after. And that's basically me. It was very quick. I don't have a lot of time, sorry.